All right, welcome back to Lost for Words with Toby and Lori. Today we've got our special guest from the Great White North. We have Matt Hanchuck from Wreck Defy. How you doing today?
Great, thanks for having me on your show.
You're very welcome. We decided we wanted to talk with somebody who's living in Canada. We're going to cover the great controversial topic of coronavirus and the COVID-19 and talk about the differences, I guess, and what's going on up there with the pandemic and what happened. I guess it's been, a year and a half now, I guess, since the pandemic happened, and get your take on what happened up in Canada. Crazy shit, man. You know?
Yeah, crazy shit. I think the problem, well, the issue talking about this for me, I'll answer your question and talk about it to some degree. I just want to, it's such a polarizing, divisive topic. There's so many emotions at play now with regards, because the narrative has been, there's such a divisive narrative, even in the scientific world, if you will. Like, so the concept of following the science, the onset of the science gave one narrative. What's coming to fruition as of recent is a complete polar opposite of the original science. So a lot of people that held on to that initial concept can't accept there's been change or new information come to light.
Right.
And this is creating massive division, and that's a testament to how arrogant people and ignorant people are, and, myself included. Because you know what? You're only as smart as the knowledge you possess. The problem is deciphering what knowledge is worth holding on to and what knowledge is worth omitting.
Right.
It's such, even though it's been 15, 16 months, we're still technically, in a medical perspective, in our infancy with having knowledge on what these, this virus, the vaccination, the whole rollout, what's the outcome here? We don't know.
Right.
So, but I can tell you this, the district I reside in is roughly 140,000 people. I have yet to meet anyone who knows anyone who's died from COVID directly. Okay. Nobody. Not in my region. I hear different stories in like hotbeds such as Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver. I've got friends. So obviously metropolitan areas where you live on top of each other. There's probably there's more of an AIDS epidemic in major metropolitans too. Right. And I'm sure SARS and Ebola, all that other stuff had more of a gravitative effect in bigger regions where the populace was such where proximity and social distancing isn't possible.
Right.
So maybe that's the reason. I'm certainly not a virologist, so I'm not going to comment on how the virus works, but and nor should some of the self-professed virologists either.
Right. That the internet's full of it. People are like, oh, all of a sudden, I know everything,
Yeah. Exactly. Everyone's an authority. And you know what? If you read up on like 10 different virology reports from 10 different virologists, they're all kind of quasi-different. It's very frustrating because, like I said, if you go back to that original statement, follow the science, which one of them is a quack and which one of them is the switched on, and who are we to decipher that?
Exactly.
And then when someone is essentially outed as such, where did that information come to light, and what are you basing that on?
Exactly.
If it's based on what I'll point out now is I can't remember her name, but an African American doctor who's right from, I think she was from Kenya. Anyway, they were making her out to be a quack and a kook because of her religious beliefs. And I thought, whatever God she prays to isn't relevant to the study of science.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, anyways, sorry, I'm rambling a little bit here.
No,
too many coffee.
Totally cool. Well, and it's crazy because, we're all on the same continent. You guys are just a different border, obviously, and we have more population. But again, I was looking at statistics this morning. In Canada, they said currently only 26,000 deaths. And in here in America, there's over 500,000 deaths. And you go, okay, the controversy being, are they skewing the numbers? And then they talked about, are the death numbers actual from corona, or were they saying that people who died from other reasons and complications from the virus? And again, it comes down to what's real, what's not real, and how are we supposed to know that? We're just civilians, right? we're trying to decipher what's real based on what the media is trying to tell us. And again, it comes down to, do you know anybody who's had the virus? Do you know anybody who's passed away from the virus? It's different for us because, personal first world, my daughter actually had corona. We know people who've actually passed away. One of our DJs on the radio stations passed away. We've had people who've been very sick and hospitalized from this, and so for us, it's very real.
What city are you in? Sorry, what city are you in?
We're out of Greensboro, North Carolina.
Oh, Greensboro. What's your population? 500,000?
No, not in Greensboro. We're at about, I don't know, maybe 150,000, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're a northern Canuck-sized city.
Yeah, I mean, Greensboro's not very large, but Charlotte's over 1 million people. I mean, it's a pretty large city. But we're not nearly as metropolitan as, say, New York City or even,
Yeah, those nature.
Washington, D.C. or anything like that. But
so you're what you're saying ties in precisely to what I was saying earlier. Like, absolutely, there's been people died here. Fortunately for me, in our district, it hasn't occurred.
Right.
All the deaths that have been, they've made a COVID-related presumption, heart issues, whatever. There's been a couple other theories. Don't forget, I mean, with my job, I have the privilege of knowing all of the ER doctors here.
Right.
All of them. Not one or two, but all of them, and that's just by virtue of being here for so long. And, like, quite frankly, they're not very open to discussion. There's a few of them that'll talk to you, but they won't talk to you openly either. So it's kind of like there's some confusion. I know the CPSO, which is the Canadian Physicians, not sure what the acronym, the CPSO, you'll have to look it up, and it parallels with Canadian Physicians something or other. They have, pressured doctors to not discuss any information with anyone pertaining to treatment of COVID, other than essentially not compelling them to be vaccinated. That's it. No alternative treatment, no other means, measures of anything. And it's just, when people ask to weigh out the benefit to risk ratio, they're not giving any risks. Zero. And every medicine has a benefit to risk ratio. Every medicine, right? So what if it was something as simple as like anaphylaxis or something? Like, if you want to know these things and then want to know if you're a candidate for that based on some sort of science, right? Is there some sort of deficiency in your body? If you're predisposed to something by virtue of, I don't know, you're deficient in something, is that a concern for you? Should you have an EpiPen on hand immediately after your vaccination? Just simple things like this go a long way. And because they're so vehemently adamant that we get it now, yesterday. That's like, shit. So anyway, that's my only concern. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I was in the military as well, and I probably had more vaccines than I can fucking name. But this shit is unproven. It's a new technology. I'm not susceptible to long-term, side effects or anything from this virus. I live on an 80-acre plot. I have no neighbors. I have no family members. I have no children. I am not putting anyone at risk. When I go to work, a mask is mandated.
Right.
So, you know what? I'm not comfortable getting it today. I'm not saying I'm not comfortable getting the vaccine, just not today. You know what I mean?
Right.
So all I ask is that people that are vehemently adamant that everyone get it, just be patient with some of us. That's all.
Right.
Because I don't even like taking Tylenol.
And there are a lot of people who are like that, and it's strange. Yeah. It's strange down here how they're doing the same thing. They're saying trust the science. It's not new, or it's been around for a long time. I'm the same way as you. I'll take the weigh the risk versus, is it more dangerous for me to get the virus or get the vaccine? And I was like, fuck it. They're giving it to me for free. I'll take it. But I'm the same person who won't get a flu vaccine because I don't want them to introduce a flu, even if it's dormant, to me, because if it's not broke, don't fix it. I never got the flu. Yeah. I got the flu vaccine once, maybe decades ago, and I got sick. So I was like, nah, I don't need that. But in this situation, I was like, well, I'm either going to get corona or I'm going to get the vaccine. I might as well just pony up and get it because I live with somebody who's at high risk. so I might as well protect him. For me, it was just for the greater good. Why not? That's just my choice. But Toby, on the other hand, is like, you know what? I ain't getting the vaccine, and that's my choice. Good on you. Okay. But is he gonna social distance and mask? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Just because that's his choice. But I'm not over here going, Toby, you need to get a vaccine. You need to get a vaccine. You do you, but I'm going to do what I can to protect the people in my household. But he's also not out at the bar dancing on tables, coughing on people and saying, well, I'm just going to pretend like it doesn't exist either. But he's not acting like he knows, like he's a virologist either, and he knows how viruses work. You know what I mean? But
at the end of the day, at the end of the day, Lori, here's the thing. I had this discussion with a friend of mine. Kind of we back and forth, just talking out of context. Cigarettes are legal, right? I'm watching you smoke. This is why I'm using cigarettes.
Right. It's a choice.
And listen, no judgment. I smoked for 16 years.
Right.
Anyway, also quit 15 years ago. But anyway, Canadian cigarettes are too friggin' expensive.
In Canada, anyway, they are. They're cheap down here in the tobacco belt.
I told a fact. If you research it, roughly 75,000 people die in Canada every year. Direct link cause to cigarette smoke.
Right.
Now, cigarette smoking is voluntary. You smoke because you choose to. Right. So it should be. And secondhand smoke is proven. This isn't an opinion. It's proven to kill people. It can harm and cause the exact same parallels to someone who smokes.
Right.
So let's assume Toby chooses not to smoke. You're in the same room. You're a smoker. You are putting him at grave risk.
I am.
So this bullshit, and this parallels my concept of freedom. If he wants to sit in a room with you, you're vaccinated, he's not, and you choose to accept him into the room, vice versa, that's what freedom is.
Right.
And if he gets sick, you reap what you sow. No different than the person that chooses to smoke. Right. If you get a spot on your lung and say, holy shit, I got lung cancer, how did that happen? Well, we know how it probably happened, right? Yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to be cheeky about this. It's just, It's so common. The common sense is so common when you just give it a simple anecdote like that. And that still pisses people off that are purists about this vaccine.
Right.
Maybe not you guys, but there's some people that just can't wrap their head around the concept of freedom to choose, freedom of decision. It's my body, Yeah. It's that simple.
Right. Right.
I don't mind. Yeah.
Well, and that lies in the fact of, the government making those decisions about lockdowns and about all of that, which is, again, a very big difference between what's going on in your part of the world versus ours, where they're making mandates about what can be open and what can't. And that's a big divisive point here, is them saying, well, they shut down all these businesses and all these people losing jobs, and there's a big disconnect there where everything's opening here. And what is it, just June 11th now up there, where they finally opened things. And from what we understood, it was certain things were deemed unnecessary, where you couldn't even buy clothes, or you couldn't even buy like a nozzle for your hose to water your garden. And we were looking at each other like, that's...
Or seeds, to grow food.
That's crazy to us. I mean, we're like...
But at no time has our liquor stores closed, our marijuana dispensaries, or anywhere where there's a gambling outlet. None of these have closed.
And how do they deem, what's essential and what's not? Toby had that same argument. He's like, they're shutting down businesses, but yet, oh my God forbid they close a bar and people can't go drink. Or, what is that about? And it just baffles the mind, like...
A shoe store, eh? Premier Doug Ford. You know what I'm talking about? Sure you do. Our premier in Ontario, Doug Ford.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess if, who's the guy that played Chris Farley?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If he hadn't passed away, he'd probably resemble Doug Ford today. He's our premier. No disrespect to Chris Farley. He was brilliant.
He was funny. Yeah. But I could imagine what his commentary would be on all of this.
Well, you know what? He actually giggled when he made a comment there, and it's readily available to view on YouTube, I'm sure. That, no one needs to go to a shoe store right now. He's like, are you serious? Come on, people, get with it. And it was that arrogant sort of vitriolic venom spitting at the very people that put him in office, presumably.
Right.
That's another story. But anyways, you know what? I guess for him, the shoe store is not essential because he's probably got 300 pairs of leather shoes in his closet.
Right.
Exactly.
Right? Maybe I don't have a pair of running shoes. Maybe I got a hole in my shoe. Maybe I cut grass for the summer as a student.
Right.
You know? Who is anyone to deem what's essential? That is
Right.
bullshit. It's only essential to you if you require it and not to you if you don't. So again, this ties into the whole concept of freedom. And why can we have X amount of people in a box store and nobody in a mom and pop shop? Nobody.
Exactly.
You can't have one, like you'll close down, say, a neighborhood bakery, right? Because you're suggesting that Walmart also sells groceries. Well, I don't shop at Walmart.
Exactly.
Right.
I choose not to. I got nothing against that Walmart. I just don't like to buy cheap products.
Yep.
You know,
That's it.
I'm not going to name countries or anything, but I don't like to buy cheap products,
Right.
shit products. I don't want to pay $8 for a T-shirt that's going to be an extra large to a medium first time I wash it.
Thank
You know,
you very much. Thank you very much.
Right.
So
Well, and that in itself, we watch a lot of, YouTube channels and a lot of stuff, and a lot of our YouTubers that we watch are from Canada, and they were waiting for travel bans to lift so they could come to the United States just so that they could buy clothes for their families and ship them back home. And we were like, to us, that was just a baffling concept, because even though we had, bans on certain things, we could still go to stores and they never closed everything. They would put mandates where you would have to wear masks and social distance, but we could still go into a store and buy clothes. They never deemed anything non-essential, like specific products, but they would close stores or limit their hours, right?
Well, except toilet paper.
Well, yeah, the toilet paper shortage, which is ridiculous.
Now that's a shitty subject.
The hoarding thing and price gouging. Was price gouging a thing up there as well?
Oh, so you know what? In the initial stages, it was $24 for a case of generic bottled water.
Oh my
Grocery.
What?
Yeah, one specific grocery store took advantage of people, and because there was a shortage of everything, right? And things they put out at skid, they put out like one skid, and it would disappear within an hour. Like I'm talking a skid of water. I don't know, maybe
Oh my God.
whatever, when there are 100 cases or something, right?
Damn.
And it went as high as $24 for a 24-pack of water. Freaking water!
What the
You know?
hell?
That's nuts. I remember when it first happened, and we were like, well, we better, go to Sam's Club or one of the big stores and load up on that stuff. And you couldn't get it anywhere. And we would go to like the dollar store and buy that sandpaper stuff, and you pick up as many rolls as you could get just to make sure that you had something to wipe your ass. But it's like now it's like
I had some extra Trudeau flyers I could have mailed you.
and Toby's like, I hope we don't have to go out and forage for leaves,
Yeah, really.
I mean, it was getting bad, but that happens, here when you have a hurricane or, bad, I suppose up there when you get bad blizzards or cold snaps, people will go and buy out all the milk and bread and all that stuff. That, I mean, but I don't understand the mentality of hoarding products when, people are so afraid of that.
Unless it's guitars.
For you, yeah, I would get that. So now that things are opening up there, I mean, what is the consensus? Are people still afraid? I mean, are people really okay with getting vaccinated up there, or are people still like, nah, they're all quacks? I mean,
I gotta say the pendulum has in fact shifted. And it has only because of the government slitting their own proverbial throats. So they everyone knows if you research, Canada is like way behind everyone else with the vax rollout.
okay.
Way behind. There's third world countries, which we're going to probably persist in that direction if we don't smarten up here, parliamentary, that are more advanced in terms of the vaccine rollout. They've had more numbers rather done. And now it's just been announced, I believe it was AstraZeneca vaccine isn't going to be recognized for the vaccination passport at the U.S. border crossing as a viable, right? Only the Moderna, Pfizer, and I can't remember if there's another
Johnson
one.
& Johnson, I think.
Well, that's been removed completely. That was omitted completely. But The AstraZeneca one is now deemed unacceptable. Well, that's the 20 million that our government purchased for Canada.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've been vaccinated, but in essence, if your vaccination purposes were to go into travel to the U.S. and abroad, well, you got to get revaccinated again already. So if you've only, like, that other vaccination hasn't even run its course yet.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like, you don't know long-term effects of what the original vaccine will do. And I'm not being a quack here.
Right.
It's not an unmoded or outmoded idea to assume that, like I said, there's a benefit to risk ratio with everything.
Right.
Right.
So I'm getting vaccinated for the better sake of everyone else. I understand the logic. It's not about me.
Right.
But I'm concerned about me when I get the vaccine. I'm not concerned about you at that point. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Right.
You do your diligence on behalf of everyone. You be a good Samaritan. But now you potentially compromise your own health for the betterment of someone else.
Sure.
Hey, I'm not opposed to putting your life on the line. I've told the line career-wise for over 2 decades.
Right.
So I understand why you get the vaccine. But I think my point is kind of clear. I'm just, it's 6 and 1/2 dozen in the other. Individual, but the freedom aspect has to reign supreme here if this is gonna work. People have to respect each other's beliefs, opinions, how this is gonna play out. And again, I mean, it's in its infancy. That's one thing that I think everyone should appreciate. By this time next year, I think we'll know so much more about long-term effects.
Yeah.
Right.
I really do. Or at least how to mitigate those effects. Do you know what I mean? Maybe there's some modifications that'll need to be taken in laboratories before they can, re-roll out another vaccine.
Right.
Because I know Johnson & Johnson will re-emerge. I mean, that's a massive pharmaceutical company,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But at this point in time, I believe they're halted completely, right? If you do some current research.
Yeah.
They've actually, and I think Britain was the first country to say, whoa, with this Johnson & Johnson, there was women having some issues with blood clotting, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, anyway.
there were some high risk groups, and they just said no, we're not going to do that anymore. But as far as I know, the other 3 major players are still rolling out and continuing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
And as far as I know now, according to the people we've talked to in South America, they're starting to hugely vaccine in Brazil and some of those countries as well. And
well, Brazil is one of those so-called hotbeds. So we
right,
get it.
Yeah.
right, and I think they should have. Again, we talk about population. I can't even imagine their population living on top of each other is infinitely worse than what we have here in the United States or you guys have in Canada. I mean,
Totally.
it's harder for them to do anything. Their sanitary conditions are worse, and their people are living on top of each other, and they don't have.
Let me tell you guys something real quick here, just to put something in a perspective. Do you guys, or let me ask you this first. Do you believe the government of Canada, based on what you do know, I don't want you to make an opinion on something you're blindly unaware of. But
right.
That would be unfair. So anyways, but assuming you have some concept of what's the history between the government of Canada and its Indigenous or Aboriginal people, okay? Do you believe the government of Canada has the best interest of the North American Indian, if you will, or Canadian Indians? Do you believe that? We're in 2021, okay? And I can tell you that within an hour's drive any direction of here, there's people that don't have potable drinking water or access to it. They have to boil their water in 2021, okay? But they've all received their vaccines. The first areas to receive the vaccine rollout was Indigenous populations and communities. They're so remote, guys. You want to see social distancing, you won't get any better than that. Why were they so adamant about vaccinating these and their children? Kids, all the little kids are all of them. That to me is bizarre. And then for the Native people to say, well, that's a great thing. Well, it could be, but you of all people should question the government more than anyone. You have been hard done by forever.
That happened here as well, though. And to me, I don't disagree with you. That seems odd and real shady. Like, what are you trying to do? And what's your motive behind that? Because I mean, they took everything from them and shoved them off on reservations here in the United States as well. And again, they made a big issue of, we're going to give all the Native American reservations, which have autonomy here. They're their own government. and said, oh, well, we're gonna rush off and let them get vaccinated first. And I agree with you. It's the same thing here. Talk about social distancing. Those reservations are autonomous to, and
people.
I agree with you. And it seems really odd and strange. Why would you do that?
I mean, to me, like air, water. I mean, these are like essential. Like just that's part of life, you know, from the inception of birth. Like, you know, like this is just basic human essentials, right? It's as simple as the air we breathe, the water we drink, so to speak. So the fact that, and that's the example. I've had this discussion with fellow officers who are Aboriginal, and you know, they don't see that I'm actually looking out. My concern is for his people. You know, he said, "What's the issue? What's your concern that we got vaccinated at first?" And I said, "Hey, I don't want it, so it's not. I'm jealous that you beat me to the punch or to the jab in this case."
Right.
I said, my concern is that you think that your health is a priority for the government, yet you can't even have a glass of water from a tap. That's my concern, and I don't see how they don't see past that. You know, to me, there's just, and I'm not suggesting there's some deep state sinister ploy at hand. I didn't say that at all. No. It's just I don't think that we should be rushing things until the science is more sound. That's all.
I agree. I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. You know, yeah. So.
But yeah, it does seem kind of shady that they're all of a sudden, well, let's go for the Native Americans first.
Or any marginalized population for that matter. You know, it's like, well, is it them, I don't know, what do you call it, virtue signaling, or let's.
Hey, okay, you want to talk virtue signaling? No, I'm not. Okay, you guys know where I live? You know who I work for? Well, the patch on the front of your vest, you know, the bulletproof vest?
Yeah.
It says police on it.
Right.
Ours now has a rainbow flag that says police. I'm not kidding. I'll send you a pic.
Yeah, send me a pic.
You know what? Listen, that's a great thing. That's a great cause. But the only flag that should be on an officer's uniform, in my opinion, is our Canadian flag. Yeah. I mean, we should not align ourselves with any cause unless you want to do it on your own time. When you're at work, you're there to represent every citizen in that community.
Exactly.
Right.
And whether or not you agree with what's on the ideology surrounding that, I can guarantee you that I'm going to show up at someone's door, and they're going to be offended by it.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Me wearing it, and that makes my job more difficult. Do you see what I'm saying? Because there's a preconceived opinion of my ideology because of what I've been ordered to wear.
Exactly.
It's no different than I'm not comparing here to the Germans or anything, but you know, it's no different when the Jews were forced to wear armbands.
Correct.
You know, you think they wanted to wear them? No. But they comply. So, and the recourse is potential loss of pay if you don't, right? Wear this thing. So it's like you can't, like we shouldn't be virtue signaling, and that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. Yes, it's a great awareness. It's a great thing to bring awareness to. You know, at the end of the day, I compel people to go and partake in rallies and stuff on your own time.
Right.
You know, but that's the key. It should be on your own time. You know.
Yeah, not mandated by your job or your government.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No.
Well, like you said, it comes down to freedom.
Well, hey, we don't have freedom of choice here. That's for sure. That's
Crazy.
That's crazy.
People have no idea. It's funny because people always there's this preconceived opinion that Canada is like, you know, a bunch of nice guys living up near igloos and stuff. This place, I think, is on par to being like a northern climate version of Venezuela if things don't curve.
Wow.
It's that bad. It really is that bad. It's going that direction. You know, the fracking industry here, 82% of the federal tax base for the province of Newfoundland comes from the tar sands of Alberta. That's a fact.
What?
82%. There's so many unemployed people in Newfoundland because the fishing industry has been decimated, right? The cod fishery, the lobster fishery. They put so many stringent guidelines on how the quotas that these people can, you know what I mean? Like at one time you could catch X amount of fish, and now it's like you can't take any, you know, unless you're native actually, then there's no rules, right? But at the end of it, which that's another thing that causes so much dissension here as well
Right.
between the people. Different rules for different folks, right? It's terrible.
Well,
and you can't blame the native people.
No.
It's the government. It's the government that does this.
Yeah.
They drive the proverbial wedge between all of us.
That's it.
They use race. They use religion.
Yeah.
They use ethnicity. All of it. So I say, anyone that follows Rectify, probably has a good idea now of if you're familiar with the lyrics, that I think we're an apolitical band. Maybe some of the leaning ideology. I'm not a big fan of I don't know, maybe abortions. I'm not a big fan of abortion, especially late term. It kind of bugs me. I've seen it makes me not want to eat drumsticks anymore.
Gross.
Oh man.
Ew. Well, that definitely gives us a good segue into Rectify, now that we've covered the pandemic a bit and got a little discussion of that.
That's all I had on it. That's all I had. I was running in circles there. Thanks.
Right? So now we can talk about Rectify, and we can talk about your band a little bit and cover that and talk about what you're doing, because we haven't really discussed that a whole lot since the last album, Powers That Be, came out, and what you're doing now and the new stuff. Let's talk about music.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah. So tell us what's going on in Rectify's world. You've been sending us clips, and we've been talking about good stuff there. So what's going on music-wise? What are you guys working on?
Hey, to be clear, it's all good stuff. You know what I value? I know that we probably have some different. I know Toby and I have different perspectives on law enforcement.
Yeah.
And you know what? But we can have civil discourse and still smile and make jokes, and that's what's lacking. That's what's lacking today.
Exactly.
It's not only ruining like causing division amongst people, but it's ruining families.
Yes, it is.
What's happening. And that's the problem to me. I don't know why we don't just kind of take a look at ourselves in the mirror once in a while, take some accountability with our own hearts, the way we perceive others, anyways. So that creates for me as a writer kind of a negative, a bleak, pessimistic outlook as opposed to optimistic. So that's why a lot of the lyrical cannon fodder, if you will, is always sarcastic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the thing with the lyric. I don't take myself seriously. Songs like Beyond, I don't want to smash anyone's head with a mallet, but it's, it's when you write a song called Beyond Hate, you kind of want to go to the next level, make sure this is how much you hate this guy. But anyway, so the next record, The World Enslaved, is completely mixed, mastered, and done. I think most people know that follow the band. Aaron Randall stepped away for personal reasons. Aaron and I are still friends. We talk all the time. And actually, Aaron's probably going to show up on a Rectify album in 2022 as a guest spot. So I heard he's working on a solo record right now. And I've heard some of the tracks, and they're killer. It's a complete departure from Rectify. Aaron is the chief writer working with another guitar player, and his name escapes me. A friend of his from Vancouver area. Great guitar player, completely different style from myself. Not a thrash guy. More of kind of a quasi, I hate the term new metal, but it's more of a new metal, kind of Mudvayne meets, I don't know, Korn kind of riffing.
Okay.
It's more like But it's all about the vocals. With Aaron, it's the vocal prowess is, I don't even really listen to the riffs. When I hear it, I listen to Aaron. So, it's a great vehicle for him. The guy's one of the best singers in Canada for sure, if not just metal in general. I'd put him top 5 everywhere. The only thing I think I've heard negative about Aaron is some people just aren't keen on his tone. And that's a human thing. You can't change what your voice sounds like, right?
Right.
Some people, I like the music, but I don't like the voice. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And then you determine later that they don't like singers. They like Cookie Monsters. They like Millie Petroza from Creator. I love Creator. But Aaron's a singer. Millie's a vocalist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Completely different. Yeah, so some people are purists to that metal, whereas I think with Rectify, I've always wanted to have a great singer.
Exactly.
Which I've been thankful to always work with great singers. And we'll talk about Gutter Creek, I hope, in a bit. And I'm so blessed to work with these guys. I feel so thankful that these guys believe in my writing is killer. You know, that's so, I love that. Anyways, so Greg Wagner from Ohio, he recorded with a band called Shatter Messiah with Curran Murphy. I don't know if you know Shatter Messiah.
Not familiar.
Curran. And funny how small the metal world is. So Curran Murphy had a band called Shatter Messiah. Well, he still has a band called Shatter Messiah. Greg Wagner was his original frontman. Did 2 records with them. I think their debut was around 2006. I think I can't remember the label. Dockyard Records, maybe. Anyway, great album. Anyone who's never heard "Never to Play the Servant" by Shatter Messiah,
okay,
I think it's probably a top 10 thrash record of the 2000s.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Not just 2006, of the 2000s.
That whole decade.
Like I hope to someday be able to write a record of that magnitude. Like, to me, it's brilliant. Anyway, so that's why Greg's in Wreck Defy, because of what he did on that record vocally.
Okay.
And he sang for the band Breaker. You guys must remember Breaker.
Oh yeah,
I remember Breaker. Yep.
Yeah. So he came when they reunited. He was their frontman when they toured. They did all the shows in Vakken and all those places.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there's probably some YouTube footage of that. And then he also did a project with a band called Archetype, which was very similar to a Dream Theater style, like a progressive metal band.
I recall that.
But they had no keyboards,
No.
which made them more metal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, less
Still
progressive, but
progressive.
more metal.
They were like a cross between like a Rush and a Dream Theater,
Yeah.
but no keyboards. Yeah. So anyways, yeah. So Greg's now our singer. The new record has 61 minutes of music, 10 tracks. You know, funny story about that. We were when we submitted the album to the label, they got back to me and said, "You're gonna have to omit a song." And I'm like, why? And they said, "Well, the vinyl, you know, we can't press quality vinyl if you supersede X amount of time or something." I'm like, well, I said, you pick the song then, because I don't want to bastardize one song and say you're the bad kid, you know, you're the one that sucked the most. So I said, you pick one. Then he gets back to me and says, "Oh, my mistake. Got to omit 2 songs." And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, this is fucked. We have 10. We're not going to release 8 songs. It's not 1975. We're going to release 10 tracks.
Right.
You know, so I got back to him and said, well, maybe this just won't work. Like, maybe there's another alternative or something. Well, then somebody had an epiphany. So double vinyl. Hey, there you go. Simple solutions elude us sometimes, yeah. So anyways, it'll come out on a double vinyl, which I'm super stoked for. Our first double vinyl, 4th record.
Nice.
And, I just got confirmation that it'll come out December 1st this year.
Ready?
2021.
Which is, yeah, so it still makes it in the calendar year, which is cool. Like, originally it was supposed to come out September, October, and then it got pushed back, and then it got pushed back again, but we've definitively received December 1st as a release, so
Awesome.
that's great. Yeah. So this record is, I can tell it, people ask the direction musically, same shit, same stuff.
Same shit, different day.
Same shit. I can tell you this, the heavy stuff got a little bit heavier, and the softer stuff might have got a little bit mellower. More emotionally, this record has the first ever thrash metal love song.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, right down the alley.
Here we go.
The title of that song is "I'd Share Your Grave." So hopefully it doesn't even sound cheesy.
Well, we'll definitely play that on air.
Yeah, Toby's
Well,
got,
you know what?
got that
I'm
whole
gonna-
cheesy love song of the week thing going on now.
Because
So
you had me on today, as soon as we're done, I'm going to send you guys a link to that track. It's mixed, mastered, ready to go.
okay.
You know what? I was so apprehensive because it's like I said, I have sarcastic existence tattooed on my ass. So no, I'm kidding. But
I don't want to see that though.
no, but it was so easy. It's so easy to write like the sarcastic songs, like, you know, like the spitting the venom and
Right.
you know, pointing out Castro's flaws and shit. It's easy to do that, but you know, kind of putting your heart on your sleeve, knowing that people are going to listen to that, you know. It was a little harder to write that from a comfort zone perspective. That song,
I could imagine.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I talk like a farmer sometimes, so it's like, oh, you can't use that word in a song. Oh, can't use that word.
Did he say oh?
Hope.
He teases me about my vernacular being from Minnesota and the northern vernacular all the time. So when we hear Ope or yeah, sure, he always goes, "Oh, you sound like a northerner."
Well, she comes back with snarky southern things too. So
Right.
so we give each other hell like that.
My obvious response to that's supposed to be yeah, eh?
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah, for sure.
So the album's coming out in December then, and obviously post-pandemic bullshit, you guys are hoping to get out on the road and...
Yeah, well, you know what, we're good. Definitely play some shows in Canada when it becomes a viable option. You know what, I've been talking a lot with the guys in Blind Illusion, Mark Biederman, Doug Piercy.
Right.
Actually, Andy Galley and Dex Death Angel's now the drummer for Blind Illusion. You guys don't already know that.
I did not know that, but that's good info.
Yeah. Yeah, and Andy's killing it, right? So, let me tell you something about Andy. I'll throw this out there, a little plug for Andy. Andy's a sweet guy. So Wreck Defy is also doing a bunch of cover songs right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I want that one. Remember, we talked about this. We're doing a cover show in a week. Next week, a week and a half, so...
The first track to be like fully mixed, mastered, and ready to be aired, if you will be the our version of Run to You, Bryan Adams cover.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Which we have heard. You've sent that to us, but...
Well, yeah, and Jeff Thorpe from Vicious Rumors actually sang on it for us. You know, that was another thing, was to get a different vocalist on each track. The most difficult endeavor for this, and that's people... Was it hard to rework these songs? Like, how did you come up with how do you know where to go with them? You know, they got to stay true to the original.
Right.
But put your spin.
But you still want to make it a quasi thrash anthem, because you're marketing yourself as a thrash band, right? You know. So the inspiration was that Children of Bodom record, where he did, I think it was "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time."
Oh my God.
Seriously, and I was like, well, that's just absolutely maddeningly brilliant. You know, that's like in a real Dr. Jekyll and Hyde kind of way. That was just brilliant. So that was the idea that planted the seed, or that's what planted the seed for this project. And obviously, the other bands have beat Rectify to the punch. But Iced Earth, they released that Tribute to the Gods record.
Yep.
And they did the same thing basically, but even kept it more true to the original songs. And I just wanted to go just a little bit more of a departure from the original tracks. So some of the songs that we did on this were really like I had to play with tunings and stuff, because I just wanted it to be true to the original. So as soon as you heard it, you recognized the song, you made the parallel to the original. But a metal purist would still listen to it, not shut it off and say, "Oh, I know what that song is," right?
Yes.
So, like songs like we did "Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald" by Gordon Lightfoot.
I haven't heard that one.
You've never heard that
no,
song?
No, I know the song very well. I'm from Minnesota, but I haven't heard your version yet. We love the Working for the Weekend. I love the Boy track.
That slam, dude. That song that you guys put together was perfect.
We like that one a lot.
And that's just it. You only heard the demo. Wait till you hear the mix.
I want to hear it. Like I said, we wanted that one for the
cover. I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
But yeah, we really wanted that one for the cover show. But if not, we'll take what we can get. But boy, I'll tell you, that one was great.
Yeah.
And being a fan of Stu's, obviously.
Yeah.
For years and years, I knew him from the Into Eternity days. So he's got a great voice. Good guy.
And he's just an awesome guy.
He is.
Yeah. There's no rock star brain in his head. He's a super grounded dude. Yeah. Humble and grounded.
I agree.
Yeah. The other one that's just about finished is Born to Be Wild. We did Yes, the bass players from Canada. That was the lineage there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Steppenwolf. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Did you hear that version? Did I send you a clip of that?
I don't.
So Henning Bossy from Firewind sang it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's
He killed it. He killed it, man. And same guys, right? Like Greg Christian from ex-Testament rather, from Rectify on bass. And Dave O'Neill on drums again, my studio guy. I'll never use a different drummer than Dave, so long as Dave is willing and able to play. I think that the signature sound that we've been able to kind of harness has been the riffing and drumming with this band. And that's why I think the transition was pretty easy with Greg Wagner, rather, a new singer coming in, is that although he's a completely different singer from Aaron, the parallels are that they're both singers. They're both capable singers, and they're both singing. They're not doing the guttural Cookie Monster thing. None of that. I could do that myself, right?
Please
no,
don't.
seriously, I don't. No disrespect. No disrespect to the black metal stuff. It's just, yeah, you know where I'm going, right?
Yeah, I exactly know where you're going.
I want to hear someone hit a note.
Yeah,
that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, everybody likes that. That's fine, but I don't care for it. It's just not my thing. So.
And Toby,
that's right. I'm not shitting on it.
Right.
No, it's art. It's art.
Toby doesn't either.
I don't get it. I don't get the art.
But he's
you know what I mean?
We get stuff in the email, and Toby will be like, okay, I'm going to listen to this, and he'll be like, damn, this is really good. And then as soon as they open their mouth, he goes, oh, he gets disappointed because it's like, it sounds so good, but then he's like, I just can't wrap my brain around it or relate to it. You know?
And that's the difference, right? Toby's, your analogy is exactly like mine today. 20 years ago, I'd have called it shit.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's not. It's only shit to me, not someone else. So I've come to conclude that I'm the one that's ignorant to it. I just don't get it. It doesn't work for me. Doesn't make it shit. It's not my thing. And I respect it because you're doing your thing.
Right.
If you're brave enough to get out there and create, I mean, how many people are putting kind of rhetorical. There's a lot of bands putting albums out. How many people are putting out good records?
Exactly.
Well, that's in the eye of the beholder, right? Because what's good to you isn't good to him, isn't good to me or someone else. Right. So, in essence, to somebody, these are all great records.
Yeah.
To some.
Exactly.
Right? So, that's kind of the like facts of what we're talking about, the division, the dissension, and all the hate shit going on right now. That's kind of like the mindset we need to take. Just worry about yourself. Don't worry about what other people are doing. If you find something that works for you, hold on to it. Squeeze the life out of it and milk it. But you don't like it, turn your back to it, walk away. Don't challenge it.
Yeah, exactly.
You already determined it's not your thing. Just leave it alone.
Yeah,
right.
That's it.
Hey, why pick it up? Why waste energy on something? Like we've had reviews. I remember where a guy called us, didn't know if we wanted to be a glam band, a thrash band, or something else, and he gave us like 2 out of 5 out of 10. And this fucking review was like a page and a half long, and I thought it took you a long time to explain why we suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like hope by the end of that he had convinced himself of his words, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you convincing everybody else?
Whereas if it was me, I wouldn't bother with it. Be like, if I was a journalist or something, and you came to me and said, "Hey, can you review this Cardi B record?" It'd be like, "No, I can't because I don't get it. I can't do this."
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't. Give me an artillery record. I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Well, cool.
Hey, see, I rambled. I warned you that I rambled, right?
No worries.
No worries.
No worries. It's a great platform to do it. Any last words? Any last thoughts? Anything else you want to say before we wrap up for the day?
No. I wanted to touch on Gutter Creek real quick. So I got this other project that's, for all intents and purposes, is finished. I mentioned the guys from Blind Illusion. Actually, there's a couple things I guess I omitted rambling, but you asked about touring prospects too. So Blind Illusion, I discussed the possibility of playing shows in Canada with them, Blind Illusion.
Okay.
All right.
And there's another band that's involved there, but I can't. They're not 100% on board yet, so I don't want to jump out. But there'd be three reputable, us being albeit the most underground of the three. But 3 fairly reputable thrash bands playing shows in Canada, and you know what? It would be so like $15 Canadian, which is like $2 American.
Oh man,
$2.
It would be super economically driven because it wouldn't be about it's just to celebrate music again. You know? That's the idea. So for some reason nobody wants to touch Rectify with a 10-foot pole. I'm not sure what with a lot of the promoters, overseas promoters do, but it's just logistically, it's a nightmare because labels don't assist with offsetting costs, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I've played festivals in Canada before, but as we seem to keep progressing and more into the political spectrum, and that's never been my intention or objective. It's just, what am I going to write about? I don't want to write about fucking Dungeons and Dragons, I want to write about shit I know. Shit I see, right? So And again, unfortunately, I've said this before on Dave Softy's show. I would never identify as a Republican, and I'm definitely not a Democrat. I'm completely apolitical. I see that both sides have good points, but both sides are completely fucked sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why would I align myself or self-profess to be part of a specific party if I already know they're flawed? So I just kind of stand back. I would consider myself, I guess, an independent, if that word even exists these days.
Right.
Right. So back to the lyrics. That's where the incentive comes from to write. I'm motivated to write stuff like, about politics, essentially, but specific things like freedom of speech, stuff like that, or freedom-less speech, as I call it.
Right. Well, and the thing is like you said, they're not going to touch you up there because it goes against the popular grain of the government. They don't like what you're writing about there, and obviously here, people would be like, yeah, let's let them have a platform to speak on. Because you
guys heard of the label Pure Steel Records?
We love Pure Steel Records.
We're real good.
Pure Steel Records turned us down because of my lyric.
Really?
True story. They wanted to take on Powers That Be, and then they outright turned. The parallel here is that Greg, my bass player, Trauma, was signed to Pure Steel for their last release.
Right.
So that's how they took an interest in us, with Greg being in the band.
Right.
So. And I had some discussion with them, and then all of a sudden they're like, what you're representing lyrically is not what our label wants to be associated with. I saved the email because I thought, you know what, you're going to eat your words one day. Because, I don't know, maybe there's a language barrier perhaps, but you're drawing an assumption, I think. You know what I mean? Based on, sometimes when you speak, you're speaking as third person or third party. You're not taking the ownership of the, like when I say, you, it's not me talking to you. It's, you know what I mean? So maybe there's a language barrier in it. I don't know, but that's a true story. They didn't want us, like an indie band like this that barely shipped, a couple thousand records.
Right.
Didn't want to touch us with a 10-foot pole because of lyrics. And I thought, all right, well, I can sing about sucking Satan's dick and all that if you want, if that's cool. But for me, that's primitive and childish.
Yeah.
Right.
That's no different than that extreme Christianity insanity. It's the same thing. It goes back to the Republicans and Democrats. For this one, we'll call the Satanists the Democrat and the crazy Christians the Republicans.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
I'm just playing, guys. I'm just playing.
No, I get it. That's awesome. But I get it. It's, again, another dividing point. Like, let's draw lines in the sand, and everybody has to pick a side, and obviously, it creates more tension and problems in our...
But Lori, we don't have to pick a side. That's my point.
Well, that's what I'm saying is...
I know what you're saying, but your side that you picked, the side that you picked and the side I picked should have nothing to do with our friendship.
I agree.
Or any other... And if it creates dissension between us, maybe we just wouldn't talk about it when we're together, right? You know what I mean? Like that, it should be that simple.
It should be that simple. The problem is that it and I'm not saying between you and I or Toby and you and I. We as adults, as responsible adults and good people, we can have discussions about subjects that, like the pandemic or law enforcement or other things, and have those discussions and agree to disagree on things that we see differently and go, okay, at the end of the day, you have an opinion, I have an opinion, we're both right, correct? We're both right. We see it from our perspective. But in our culture, people are like, no, I have to defend my side and be right. And it doesn't have to be that way. And it seems like what you're saying, the record labels or the government or other people feel it's necessary for all of us to have to pick a side because that keeps everybody in line. Fuck you. I don't want to be on your line. I don't want to be standing in your line. I have a right to my opinion. This is the way I see it. And you don't have to agree. He doesn't have to agree. But at the end of the day, we still have to get along and live with each other. Exactly. It's just the way it is. Toby and I don't agree on everything, and we rock, paper, scissors about a lot of shit. Okay, well, that's the way it is. But at the end of the day, he's not wrong, and I'm not wrong. We're both right.
Exactly. That's the point right there.
And it's okay.
And we're so right now, we're so indoctrinated into the ideology of butting heads versus just turning away.
Right.
It's like, oh, that guy doesn't agree with your point. Well, then let's step closer and stick our chest out and get one fucking octave louder in our voices. Just over something that really means nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
Let's talk about that fishing trip we were supposed to go on tomorrow. Maybe I don't want to go anymore, you psycho fuck.
Exactly. You know, so
last thing I want to say to you about this Gutter Creek project. So I had a whole batch of songs. I love every type of music that has a rock guitar in it, if you will. Anything guitar driven. So I love Demolition Hammer as much as I love Lynyrd Skynyrd. Okay, so I had this batch of material, and it's rock, it's hard rock, but it's not thrash metal at all,
right.
at all. And so I came up with the moniker. I was going to call it Schitt's Creek, but in Canada, there's actually a TV show. Well,
called
you
Schitt's
probably know,
Creek.
not just Canada, but Canadian actors called Schitt's Creek. So I thought, that's going to be a cease and desist letter before it gets released. So I went with Gutter Creek, which is kind of an even better moniker, I think. And I got Derek Kroll, drummer from a whole plethora of bands. He's like a drum whore. But Derek was in a band called Alpha Kill. He did a couple records with Alpha Kill. And the original singer from the first Rectify album, Justin Steer, is the singer from Alpha Kill. So kind of an interesting parallel there.
Wow.
Again, how small the friggin' the music world is, especially over in Canada.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we put this band together. I had these songs written over a period of probably 3 years. And Rectify is obviously still the main thing, but we were able to secure Soren Adamson, ex-Artillery vocalist, to do all the tracks. And he tracked his vocals in Glenn Hughes' studio. Soren Aronson, I think, is the engine. Well, he plays with Dead Daisies, or what's the name? Help me out here, Toby, Lori.
Dead Daisies. That sounds familiar.
I've seen that before.
Yeah. Anyways, it's so pro, like the sound of the vocals. I mean, the guy's singing through a $10,000 microphone in the studio, so it's. If it Wags' vocals were done on like a $700 microphone. So that, you know what I mean? Like that's the difference in terms of the sound it's going to have. I'm just, the idea is that it transcends, hopefully beyond just the metal purists. That it just finds a broader audience.
Right.
It's I think it's still as crushing as the Rectify stuff. It's just not as technical.
Right.
And that was on purpose. It was more about songs versus the technical aspect of it. Like there wasn't a lot of rehearsal required for these songs to come together. In fact, back in November, when we were finishing writing some of these songs, myself and Derek, drummer there, Derek Kroll, excuse me, I put out a video on my personal Facebook page there was myself, Derek, and a bass player, Justin Steer, playing bass, just in a little rehearsal room. We ran through this song, and I posted it. Okay, back in November with no vocals. We literally only ran through it once and then did the video. Ever. We'd never done that song before. And it came off without a hitch.
Huh.
Let me tell you something. With Greg and Dave and all the pros that I got to play with, you could never do that with a Rectify song.
Right?
No way. No way.
Cut.
It's like 10 seconds, change speeds. 10 seconds, change speeds. Speed shifting, if you will. Yeah. Anyway, the Gutter Creek stuff is going to be. I don't know if it'll be out before January, but it'll be out in the next year. It'll be out before next summer for sure. And it's going to be a killer record. Actually, Soren is also going to sing one of the cover tracks on the Rectify stuff. One of the guest vocalists. He's going to do. You guys know the Tragically Hip? You heard of that Canadian band?
No.
New Orleans is sinking, and I don't want to swim. You ever heard that song?
No, you'll have to send me a link to that too, or I'll have to check that out. We got
Yeah,
a lot to
like-
listen to today.
Yeah, they're just a Canadian kind of icon type band. One more vocalist I'll share with you on these covers. So Zimmer's Hole. You know Zimmer's Hole? Gene Hoglan's the drummer.
I know Gene Hoglan, but I don't know.
I've heard that name.
You guys got to check out Zimmer's Hole. It's insanely good metal. Yeah.
I'm right.
Especially their last record. Well, when you were shouting at the devil, we were in league with Satan.
Oh
my God. That one's good.
Oh,
How's that for an album title?
Yeah,
that's
really.
a great album title.
That's
Talk
great.
about
Yeah.
shouting out to your heroes, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so Chris Bellagio from Zimmer's Hole is going to sing our version of Part of Gold by Neil Young.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It's going to be really killer.
You're
Completely
grabbing from
real.
all genres. Edmund
All
Fitzgerald,
genres, but all
Neil Young, and Loverboy, and
And we're doing April Wine, Sign of the Gypsy Queen, Trooper, Boys in the Bright White Sports Car. I don't know if you know that track. It's killer. So killer. Aldo Nova, Fantasy.
oh my
Yeah,
god.
oh my God. That's great.
Yeah.
They'll be
Hey, and if I already said to someone we're gonna do fantasy, they're like, "What? That sounds horrible." I'm like, if you can see what we did with Loverboy, then you should be able to see that we'll be able to do with fantasy.
Exactly.
Same idea.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Well, cool.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for taking your time out to do so.
I gotta send you guys that link to that track, that I Share Your Grave song.
Yeah, that'd be great.